Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Bhagavad Gita. Today we will study chapter 10, text 35 of Bhagavad Gita, which is the sound and time representations of the Supreme Lord. So we'll say our Mangalacharan prayers and we'll quickly get on with the class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So Bhagavad Gita 10:35. बृहत्साम तथा साम्नां गायत्री छन्दसामहं मासानां मार्गशीर्षोऽहं ऋतूनां कुसुमाकरः। Brhat-sama, the Brhat-sama. Tatha, also. Samnam, of the Samaveda songs. Gayatri, the Gayatri hymns. Chandasam, of all poetry. Aham, I am. Masanam, of months. Margashirsha, the month of November, December. In lunar calendar, there is a Margashirsha month. Aham, I am. Ritunam, of all seasons. Kusuma Akaraha, spring. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Of the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brhat-sama, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashirsha, November, December, and of seasons, I am the flower-bearing spring. Finally, this sounds like poetry itself. Of poetry, I am the Gayatri. That already sounds like poetry, doesn't it? So, purport. It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, He is the Samaveda. So, if you remember, we'll just go back to that verse where He said, among the Vedas, I am Samaveda. 10:22. Vedanam Samavedosmi. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. And Prabhupada writes here, oh, he doesn't write anything here. Actually, in today's verse he writes. So, purport, it has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, he is the Samaveda. The Samaveda is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is the Brhat-sama, which is an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. That's very interesting because we don't know about what Brhat-sama is, right? And I tried to look up some lyrics of it. I did a cursory search. I did not find any. But I found a video of chanting of the Brhat-sama. I'll just play it to you in a while. We'll read the whole purport first. So one of these songs is the Brhat-sama, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. So, I think I have mentioned this before, that in classical Sangeet or the science of music, there are different tunes for different times of the day. And all of this starts from the original planet, the Golok Vrindavan planet, where the Ashtakaliya Leela of Radha Kṛṣṇa preside over. So, Ashtakaliya means, Kala means time, Ashta means 8. Ashtakaliya Leela means the 8 divisions of time, the pastimes during the 8 divisions of time of the day. So, in other words, every day has 24 hours and it is divided into 8 parts, and this is called, each part is called a prahara. One prahara is about 3 hours. So Ashta Prahara means 24 hours. So this Ashta Prahara, in each of these parts, different melodies suit that time of the day. So in the morning, there are particular melodies which are to be sung in the morning. And morning means we are talking about the first Prahara of the day. So the first Prahara of the day starts from Brahma Muhurta. Actually 1.5 hours before Brahma Muhurta, if I'm not wrong. So 3 hours before, I think Kṛṣṇa wakes up at that time when he was sleeping. When he was living in Dwarka, it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he wakes up 3 hours before sunrise and meditates on himself. Of course, he is the Supreme Lord, so he is meditating on himself, but we should meditate on the Supreme Lord. If I can take that out. So Lord Kṛṣṇa used to lie down with his 16,000 wives. So each wife was given a separate palace, and he used to be separately living with each one of his wives. So each wife felt that he was only living with her. So Lord Kṛṣṇa used to lie down with his 16,000 wives, but he would also rise from bed very early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. By nature's arrangement, the crowing of the cocks warns of the Brahma Muhurta hour. There is no need of alarm clocks. As soon as the cocks crow early in the morning, it is to be understood that it is time to rise from bed. Hearing that sound, Kṛṣṇa would get up from bed, but his rising early was not very much to the liking of his wives. So anyway, the point is, Kṛṣṇa wakes up at that time when he was in Dwarka. So he's teaching us how to live. So even when one may be sleeping, and even by the wife by his side, one has to still wake up early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise, and start spiritual activities. Before the sun rises, that time is very peaceful and in a mode of goodness, and it is ideal for spiritual cultivation. And Kṛṣṇa is teaching us how to wake up at that time. So that time, 3 hours before sunrise to sunrise, is one prahara. So from sunrise to the next 3 hours is another prahara. So like that, every 3 hours is a different prahara. And depending on the prahara, there are melodies or ragas or tunes that can be sung that are suitable for each prahara. So apparently, this Brhat-sama has a very unique melody, exquisite melody, and is sung at midnight. And I actually found the video. It's just a audio basically. I will try to play it to you. I cannot understand the lyrics at all, and I don't understand this tune at all, but this is how it sounds. I'll just place it near the mic. So this is like 28 minutes of this. It almost sounds similar like this. Apparently, this is the Brhat-sama, and I don't know the exact lyrics of this Brhat-sama, but that's the video I found on YouTube, and it's not any video; it's just a still image of the galaxy, of the Milky Way galaxy, and then this chant is going on, and it does sound very unique, in fact. And if I can take it out, in the original Bhagavad Gita, I don't know for what reason, it is mentioned that this Brhat-sama is sung to Indra. For Indra's pleasure. Whom it is glorifying, I do not know, but it is sung for the pleasure of Indra. Maybe Indra wants to hear the glorification of the Supreme Lord. I don't know. So, in the original Bhagavad Gita, it's like that. Let me try to take it out. Okay, here, this is the original Bhagavad Gita. 1972 edition I'm talking about. Brhat-sama Tattvavit dāsa. So here, of hymns I am the Brhat-sama sung to the Lord Indra, and of poetry I am the Gayatri verse sung daily by Brahmanas. Of months I am November and December. Actually, I am Margashirsha, November and December. And of seasons I am the flower bearing spring. So, sung to Lord Indra. But I have seen the original manuscript, and in that there is no mention of Indra. But somehow in 1972 there is a mention of Indra. But in the subsequent editions, that is taken out. This is the later versions of Bhagavad Gita. Here it is said, like what we have read earlier, of the hymns in the Samaveda, I am the Brhat-sama. There is no mention of Indra here. And of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashirsha, November, December, and of seasons, I am flower bearing spring. So, reading again from the purport, it has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Vedas, he is the Samaveda. The Samaveda is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is the Brhat-sama, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. So this sounds like there is nightlife in the Swargaloka. Except for that, their nightlife is glorification of the Supreme Lord, and The Ashtakaliya Leela is going on in the Golok Vrindavan eternally, and all the music that accompanies those Leelas of Radha Krishna and the gopis and the cowherd boys and everyone, from there trickles down all this knowledge of music, and it comes down, and even in this material world there is music, and it is suitable for the different praharas of the day. All of this. Now one may ask, if there is no time in the spiritual world, then how come there is this 24 hours or Ashtaprahara? Well, that is the Lord's will. In fact, even 24 hours, even the limitations of time that we see here is actually the Lord's will. And there is no limit of time, but if the Lord wants that particular time where moon is there and everything, that will happen. Or if there is sun, if there has to be sun or something, that will happen. But of course, there is no sun or moon in the spiritual world. But such seeming darkness or night, or how to say, situations can be simulated by the Lord. For example, we know that natad bhasate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha. So the spiritual world is full of effulgence, right? So how can there be night in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavan, where everything is bright? And actually there is beauty tonight, right? When the moon is full and there is this beautiful spring season where everything is blooming, and Radha Krishna and the gopis, they have this boat festival in the moonlight and near the banks of the Yamuna. I mean, that's very beautiful. That's very romantic, right? So how can that be missing in the spiritual world when it is there in the material world? So the Lord has His own ways how to manifest those different times, and even the moon itself is very beautiful to look at, right? Such beauty. So how can that be missing in the spiritual world? So it is definitely there. Like here, every planet has some satellites around it, as far as we see. Like the scientists say that every planet has some satellites, and the moon is a satellite of the earth. And according to even Surya Siddhanta, moon is moon situation is like what the modern science describes, whereas in Puranic cosmology, in the Puranas, moon is situated at a different place. Now all this is possible by the inconceivable energy and potency of the Lord, where the same object can be differently perceived given our different sets of senses. So for our vision, the moon is like the satellite of the earth, and it moves around the earth. So similarly, other planets also have satellites. Likewise, Golok Vrindavan may also have a moon or many moons. I don't know, but of course this is in the realm of speculation. But my question is, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavaha. Krishna is the origin of everything, and the spiritual world, this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So everything that we do find in the material world has to originate in the spiritual world. So that idea or that phenomenon that the moon is there here and it offers this beautiful sight on full moon night or something like that, that must be in some way, by Krishna's own inconceivable potency, be manifest also in the Golok Vrindavan. So how that is manifest there when there is no darkness? Well, there is Krishna. Krishna can do anything, right? Krishna can bring upon a darkness, a situation of darkness to facilitate the pastimes. Everything in the spiritual world exists to facilitate Krishna's pastimes. We sometimes think that way, that this world is there to facilitate me. When something happens, we think that is happening for my benefit or for me, and we have these feelings that is happening for me, and we are the center of the universe or something like this. But Although this is our own illusion, but in the spiritual world, it actually happens for Krishna, because there is no power that is in this world. There is the power of the Supreme Lord through the agency of the demigods and everything, and then we are trying to fit in ourselves and making ourselves, adapt to the circumstances. But Krishna does not adapt to the circumstances of the spiritual world. The spiritual world exists, and everything exists on his terms, for his pleasure. So, for Krishna, it's not that something is happening and he's taking advantage of the situation and making it suitable to his pastimes. No. He is creating the situation according to what he feels like doing. So, if it has to be night, Ashtaprahara, Ashtakalya Leela is going on there, right? So there is also night, a transcendental night, although it is full of brightness, the spiritual world. So by his own will, night can come. So Krishna can do anything. Anything means anything. So we should not limit Krishna and his pastimes and his world, the spiritual world, within the limits of our intelligence and our experience in this material world. And although I am kind of speculating at this point, but it is not beyond the Shastric domain, because Krishna says Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, and the Ashtakalya Leela, they are going on eternally in the spiritual world anyway, and that is explained in the Brahma Samhita also, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also explains that all these Leelas are going on, and the Goswamis also wrote about it. So that is going on. So if there is Ashtakalya Leela, there has to be night. And where does night come from in this material world if it is not there in the spiritual world? So it is within the domain of Vedic statements that I am speculating. But this is some information we have. We can just infer from that. Now, Brhat-sama is sung at midnight, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. So, there are situations where even in this material world, one performs jagarana in the night, does not sleep. In fact, the strict observance of Ekadashi entails that one should not sleep or eat anything during Ekadashi. The strictest standard, the gold standard of following Ekadashi, is one should not eat anything or drink anything on Ekadashi, and one should not also sleep in the night of Ekadashi. And one should perform service whole day and not sleep in the night, and morning at the Paran time, within that time frame, one has to break the fast with grains, and the next day also continue not sleeping and then sleep only in the night. So of course, we are not following such a strict regimen of Ekadashi. But some, even demigods, sometimes there is Shivaratri or something, and even Janmashtami, there is celebrations going on through the night. So there are some occasions where one is awake during the night, and those times probably there is the Brhat-sama being sung. So I do not know the exact, I'm just guessing here. So Brhat-sama is sung, which is exquisite melody at midnight. So probably it is that. It must be very beautiful for Krishna to even mention. It does sound some very unique and very beautiful from whatever little I played. I don't know if you have heard it, but it sounds beautiful. And Krishna says, I am that Brhat-sama among the Samaveda songs. And among the Vedas, he said, I am the Samaveda. And among Samaveda songs, I am Brhat-sama. And we can just imagine how beautiful the songs will be in the spiritual world, where Krishna is always glorified by the foremost of singers in the entire creation. I mean, not just this creation, this material world, but also material and spiritual world combined. The best of all singers are among the gopis who sing and play for the Supreme Lord. in the Golok Vrindavan. And of course, even in Vaikuntha, there is beautiful singing going on, unheard of in the material world. Here we have, some famous singers and some good singers who can sing very nicely. But above this planet, there is a Gandharva planet where they are all expert singers and dancers. And that is just sub-heavenly planets. Imagine in the heavenly planets, imagine even higher than that. Imagine in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, and imagine in the Golok Vrindavan. So there's no limit to how beautiful this can be. And even the dance, in the Rasa Leela, it is said that the gopis, they danced like nobody has ever seen before. And among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is such a good dancer that even the gopis at one point stopped their dance, but Radharani went on. And those steps which they were performing, Radha and Krishna, it was just out of this world, of course out of this world, but out of this material world, out of the spiritual world, out of Vaikuntha, even in Golok Vrindavan, they are the best of dancers. When Krishna is known as Natavar, or the great dancer, it is not some, oh, he's a good dancer. No. He is a dancer who's unparalleled in his dance. I mean, just imagine, he was dancing on the hoods of Kalia. The snake's skin is very slippery, and that too it's a water snake, and have multiple hoods, and it's all moving and slippery and slithering snake. And imagine, he was just happily dancing on it in a very graceful way, and stamping on the hoods of Kalia and injuring the snake at the same time, while he was just a small boy and enjoying the dance. A dance floor which is so slippery, slithering, and wet and moving. It's like how many heads, how many hoods of the snake, and he was jumping on all of them and dancing without a worry. So just imagine what he would be doing on firm ground during his Rasa Leela. So, and the instruments, Radharani is expert at Veena. So in that way, I mean, there are so many instruments that are being played there. So all this music and everything is meant for the glorification of Krishna. And that percolates into this material world as well. But of course, it is used here in mundane and materialistic pursuits. But actually, it's originally meant for glorifying Krishna. Reading on in the purport of 1035, in Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry. Rhyme and meter are not written whimsically, as in much modern poetry. In the manuscript, Prabhupada also says, in the modern poetry also there is some regulation. Yes, there is some regulation, that at least it has to rhyme, has to be some rhyming scheme, like AABB or ABAB, ABCB. That means AABB means the two lines rhyming. First two lines are rhyming with each other at the end, and second two lines are rhyming at the end. That is AABB scheme. If it's a 4-line verse, usually 4-line verses sound nice, and AABB is one scheme of rhyming. ABAB, so the first and third rhyme, and second and fourth rhyme. So that is another scheme. Sometimes it's ABCB. So first 3 lines are different, and the last line, kind of rhymes with B, the second line. So like that, there are some regulations of poetry. But in Sanskrit, the rules are way stricter, and that's why we have, like melody. There are, like 17 syllables, and it's not just 17 syllables. In that 17 syllables, there is Guru and Laghu as well. Where Guru and where Laghu. Guru means long, or stressed, and Laghu means short. For example, so this we chant, right? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Now you see, one, so this has each line 21 syllables, and As far as I know, this is the longest verse. This scheme, 21 syllables, is longest in one line. As far as I know. Maybe there are more, I don't know, but I think that's the longest. Vandeham, Vande, both are long. Ham also long. All three are Guru. Shri also Guru. And Gu. Gu is Laghu. Roh is again Guru. Gu is short. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri. So Guru, 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 Laghu, Guru, Guru. So 7 syllables. So you see the tune actually comes like this. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. You see the second, so this 21 syllables is split into 777. Vandeham Shri Guru. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri 7. Yutapada Kamalam 7. Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha, another 7. So the middle 7, if you see, Yuta, Pada, Kama are short, Laghu. Lam, Yuta, Pada, Kamalam, Lam, that is long. Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. So in every line, the same scheme follows. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. So you see how the Guru and Laghu positions of each syllable in the line follow very strictly. So you have to construct the verse according to these rules and make sense. You see, such meaningful verses are composed strictly adhering to those meters. And for example, even this Shatruchhedaika mantram Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya mantram Samsarochheda mantram Samuchitatamasa Sangha Niryana mantram Sarvaishwaryaika mantram Vyasana Bhujaga Sandashta Santrana mantram Jihve Shri Krishna mantram Japa Japa Satatam Janma Safalya mantram. You see, all those Guru and Laghu, so it's so strict, and therefore the tune is same. Of course, there can be multiple tunes for the same chanda. So each scheme of arrangement of Guru and Laghu is called a chanda. So different names have different chandas have different names. So like Anushtup chanda is 8 syllables. Like most of Bhagavad Gita is Anushtup chanda, which is like Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. So that is Anushtup chanda. And there is Trishtup chanda, or what is the other word? There is a whole so many names. Even in Trishtup there are multiple. What is that? Malini chanda is 15 syllables. I have to really stretch my mind because I forgot this. Many of the Shardula Vikridita chanda is 19 syllables, like Goswami, Shad Goswami Ashtakam. So in this way, there are so many chandas, right? Now, Krishna says, so here Prabhupada is saying, in Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry. Rhyme and meter are not written whimsically as in much modern poetry. Amongst the regulated poetry The Gayatri mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified brahmanas, is the most prominent. And if you see the word to word, so Kṛṣṇa is saying among the poetry, he is the Gayatri, which is itself a poetry. So here, Gayatri, Prabhupada translated as the Gayatri hymns. So there's not only one Gayatri. Any link available about the rules? Well, I did during my shloka learning course. I did a page. I actually did not update it. I had new tunes and new rules of verses which I did not update in that, but many are there already. Let me see if I can take those out. Okay, I'm going to share the link. 1 second. I don't know if this will. No, this will not do it. One second. Kṛṣṇa. Yeah. Okay, so that's the link I've shared in the comment section there. So anyway, coming back here. So of the Gayatri hymns. Now in Gayatri, here it is. The Gayatri mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified brahmanas, is the most prominent. The Gayatri mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the Gayatri mantra is especially meant for God realization, it represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri mantra. The Gayatri mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator and it is passed down from him in disciplic succession. Now, of course, we can go on a rabbit hole on Gayatri mantra, but where is it mentioned in the Bhagavatam? Well, actually, it's in the first verse itself. But I want to go to this verse, which is. This is from the Garuda Puran. Now, this is not. So, we did some research. We could not find it in the Garuda Puran, but Madhvacharya in his Bharat Tatvarya Nirnaya, I think Bhagavad Tatvarya Nirnaya, he mentioned that he found this verse in the Garuda Puran. So anyway, I think the edition of Garuda Puran that he had, probably he found this verse there. But this verse is, it says, it's quoted in the Madhya, CC Madhya 25.143 and 144, two verses. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayah Gayatri Bhashya Ruposau Vedartha Paribrahmhitah Puranam Samarupah Purananam Samarupah Sakshat Bhagavatoditah Dvadashaskandha Yuktoyam Shatavicheda Samyutah Granthoštadasha Sahasrah Srimad Bhagavatabhithah. Gayatri Bhashya Rupa, the purport of the Brahma Gayatri, the mother of the Vedic literatures. Asau, that Veda Artha Paribrahmhita, expanded by the meanings of all the Vedas. Purananam Samarupaha, again Samaveda is also mentioned here. Of the Puranas, Samarupaha, the best. like the Sama is among the Vedas. So among the Puranas, it is the best, just like the Sama is the best among the Vedas. Sakshat Bhagavatoditaha, spoken by Vyasadeva, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dvadasha Skanda Yuktoyam Shatavicheda Samyutaha Ashtadasa Sahasraha Srimad Bhagavatabhidaha. So, here, the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is present in Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma Sutranam. The full purport of the Mahabharata is also there. The commentary of the Brahma Gayatri is also there and fully expanded with all Vedic knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme Purana and it was compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. There are 12 cantos, 335 chapters and 18,000 verses. So this is a brief description of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, if you go to the first verse of Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya yatonvayaditartaschartheshvabhignya swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. This Dhimahi. So I meditate. So this Gayatri mantra is actually the meditation of the individual soul on the Supreme Soul. And the culmination of such meditation is actually the perfection of one's existence. Because if one is completely meditating on the Supreme Lord, that is the constitutional position of the living entity. We should always be meditating on the Supreme Lord. And meditation is not confined to a pose like this. No. Meditation means at all times, in all activities, at all places, in all circumstances and situations, we should be thinking of the Supreme Lord. Mayarpita manobuddhir tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmarayudhya cha. This is meditation. Kṛṣṇa is saying to Arjuna in the 8th chapter, 7th verse of Bhagavad Gita, as you are fighting, while you are fighting, think of me. That is meditation, dhimahi. Usually meditation, we sit down, in one place. That is, it is meditation, yes. That too, it has to be done. The thinking should be of the Supreme Lord. One should think of the Supreme Lord within the heart. That is explained in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Kṛṣṇa explains. But that is for lesser qualified people. For more qualified people like Arjuna, he is saying, Mam anusmara yudhyacha. While you are fighting, you think of me. You see the kind of, it's almost comical or comedic, but you see, Kṛṣṇa is saying, actually these 4 verses he says, let's go to 11 also, so that we understand a little bit of the context of what is going on. You see, 6, 11 and 12. Suchau deshe pratisthapya sthiram asanamatmanah natyuchritam nati nicham chaila janakushottaram tatraikagram manah kritva yata chittendriya kriyah upavishyasane yunjyad yogam atmavishuddhaye. So what is he saying here? So to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. See, secluded place, that means in the forest, nobody is there, no human being. Lay some kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with deer skin and soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses and activities and fixing the mind on one point. Now he further explains the next 2 verses, you see. Samam kaya shirogrivam dharayannachalam sthirah sampreksha nasika agram svam dishaschanavalokayan prashantatma vigatabhir brahmachari vrate sthitah manah samyamya machitto yukta asita matparaha. You see here, sampreksha nasikagram svam dishaschanavalokayan. This dishaschanavalokayan means not looking at any other place, not looking here and there, just focusing on the tip of the nose. One has to meditate like that for a long time. One should not be, letting the eyes go around here and there also. That much focus. You see here, sampreksha, looking, nasika of the nose, agram at the tip, swam on, at the tip of one's own nose, one has to look like that. That's why if you see Lord Shiva, he's always with half closed eyes like this. And if you do that, here the muscles are tensed and one cannot sleep at all in that position. That is the reason why it is done like that. And that is a forced way of combating sleep and to control the senses. See? This is Chanavalokayan. Disha means on all sides. Cha also. Anavalokayan means not looking. It means not looking here and there, everywhere. Prashantatma vigatabhir brahmachari vrate sthitaha manah samyamya machitto yukta asita matpara. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. See? This is what Krishna said, to which Arjuna said, Krishna, Arjuna uvacha, yoyam yogastvaya aproktah samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Next he says, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So Arjuna said like this. Krishna said, you sit in one place, in a peaceful place, in a sacred place, and meditate upon me, without looking anywhere, focus on me and within the heart. Arjuna said, that's impractical. And Krishna said, okay, then you do this. What is the practical thing? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha mayarpita mano buddhi mame vaishyasya samsaya. Oh, you cannot sit down and meditate on me? Okay, never mind. You fight, and while fighting you meditate on me. How much more difficult this is then? Arjuna said, I cannot do that. Now here Krishna is suggesting then, after this, therefore Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. There he said, don't even look here and there. Here he's saying, you think of me and at the same time carry on this fighting. You have to look everywhere for arrows to come that are coming at you. You have to shoot everywhere. And you have to kill those people. And at that time Krishna is saying, you think of me. Oh, you cannot look. Oh, you cannot simply sit down and think of me. Okay. You fight. While fighting, you think of me. How is this? With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. If that was impractical, how is this practical? So, the practicality of this comes with a different approach. While the sixth chapter is explaining a very mechanical way to control the senses, where you have to focus it and not let it roam around, forcibly controlling it and fixing it on one point. In the 8th chapter, what Krishna is explaining is devotional service, which is working for the pleasure of Krishna, in which case one's full thought action, words, everything is for Krishna. There, all activities are encouraged or advised to be stopped. Why? Don't look here and there. Why? Because we are looking materially. All the material looking here and there, trying to, you know, lose focus. So that is material, and that material activities are said to be, are asked or advised to be stopped. But in the case of fighting, Arjuna's fighting, it was on the order of Krishna, and because he is fighting for Krishna, he can think of Krishna. For example, if we now I'm speaking, I cannot speak without thinking of the subject matter of what I'm speaking, right? So I have to be here. I have to be present. I have to think of this. I have to think of what Krishna has said, and I have to repeat that. I have to think of what Prabhupada said, what I understood from what they said, and I have to present that um, in an understandable way. So for that, there is thinking going on. I am talking, but there is thinking going on about Krishna. And similarly, when one acts for Krishna, just like a mother, she is, holding, Prabhupada gave this example of village women who carry these water pots on their heads. They have this cloth, and then they carry the water from the river or something, and then they walk all the way to their houses. And all the women come together, they do this, and then they have the pots on their head on the cloth, and they are balancing the pot with the water in the pot. And while they're doing that, they're talking with each other. They're talking with each other, and they're joking and everything, but they're not forgetting that pot there. So that focus, Prabhupada, when he saw, like women doing that, Prabhupada said, that's how you have to be Krishna conscious. You see how Prabhupada is seeing everything in connection with Krishna. So he is seeing some village women walking with pots on their heads, but he's saying that is how you should be Krishna conscious. They are talking and everything, but they are not forgetting the pot. Ma manusmara yuddhecha. And that comes, and also, in fact, of course, that is a little bit mechanical. But a mother who has affection for the child, although she's cooking, although she's cleaning, she's always thinking where the child is, what is the child doing. So that happens when one loves someone. So that affection makes one think of that person. So there has to be some affection for somebody to think of another person. So similarly, when one is affectionate, one has affection for Krishna, Preeti. What is that? Tesham satate yuktanam bhajatam preetipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. So when we engage in devotional service with preetipurvakam, that means with affection for Krishna. When you have affection, then you will not so much worry about your own inconvenience. We always worry about our convenience or inconvenience. For example, for the mother, it is completely inconvenient to serve the child in the middle of the night. He gets up and he wants food, or he's crying for something. It's not easy. So what keeps the mother serving the child without being paid? That is affection. So the mother will do anything. Even in animal kingdom you can see this, that otherwise timid animals would face even a lion and try to engage with the lion to save their own children. If it is the mother, say, there was this video I watched a video where cheetah and a lion. So the lion was a male lion. Male lion, compared to female lions, male lions are way stronger and way more courageous and way more powerful than the female lioness. So the lion saw the cheetah, and the cheetah had 3 cubs. So lion saw from far and he was approaching. The cheetah is very small compared to the lion. I mean, it's very frail, it's very, if one slap from the lion and the cheetah will go bones broken. So there's no chance the cheetah would survive with the lion. But when this female cheetah, the mother cheetah, saw the lion, he went straight for the lion. Straight for the lion, walking towards the lion, and it was high grass actually. So the cubs, they went into the grass, so a little bit uh, hidden from the view of the lion, and the mother cheetah straight went towards the lion. And then the lion started running towards the cheetah. And then the cheetah went towards the lion, and of course the cheetah is faster than the lion, fastest animal on the ground in the planet, on our planet. So went close enough. In order to distract the lion, the cheetah went a different direction and not running so fast, because it runs too fast, then the lion will become discouraged and will leave the cheetah and look for the cubs. The mother did not want the lion to get the cheetah her own children, her own cubs. So she was running a bit slowly, but fast enough for it to stay out of reach from the lion, but also distract the lion in the other direction. So if there were no cubs, the cheetah would maintain a lot of distance from the lion, will not go anywhere near the lion. But you see what she did when she had children. So it's certainly not convenient for the cheetah to go head on with the lion. But when affection is there, one will go way beyond one's comfort zone and convenience. One will not think of convenience anymore. Because what is, if I think of my own convenience, where is the affection? So the affection pulls us towards inconvenience, and we will do anything for that person. So that's the platform on which this can happen. Mam anusmara yuddhacha. While we are fighting the battle of our own life, we have to always think of Kṛṣṇa and live it for Kṛṣṇa. Everyone's life is a battle. Like Duryodhan also was fighting a battle, Arjuna was fighting a battle, and they were fighting the same battle with each other. They were on the same battlefield, in the same battle, but one was fighting for his own senses and one was fighting for Kṛṣṇa. So for Duryodhan, it is a material battle. He was fighting for material gain, whereas Arjuna was fighting for spiritual reasons, to satisfy Kṛṣṇa. He was fighting to protect dharma, to execute the order of Kṛṣṇa and rule over this world according to Kṛṣṇa conscious principles. So the same battle is spiritual and material. Like Ram and Ravan, the Vanaras who helped Ram, they are blessed with devotional service. Of course, there is the benefit for even the demons, because they fought Ram, and being killed by Ram, they will also get liberation. But of course, it's not the same liberation as those who actually favorably serve him. So this is clearly explained by the Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, that they attain far higher. They can associate with the Supreme Lord and serve him in the spiritual planets of Vaikuntha Loka. So that is much higher. So anyway, the point is this. One must engage in one's battle of life and at the same time think of Kṛṣṇa. And remember, that battle of life has to be fought for Kṛṣṇa. It's not that, as I said, everyone's life is a battle, but they are fighting for what? Some people are fighting to become an astronaut. Some people are fighting to become a chess player. Now, there is one youngest chess champion from India, everywhere coming in the news. So his life, whatever he went through to get to that stage, is a battle. No denying the fact. Right? So anything, to achieve excellence in anything, it has to be a battle, and it has to be. And for some people, it's just survival. To survive is a battle. For those people who are, in poorer countries and in much more or war-torn countries, just to survive is a battle. Every day is a battle. So everyone is fighting their own battle. But we have to fight the battle for Krishna. What does that actually mean? That means with whatever situation we are presented, we have to serve Krishna. Our life has to be for service of Krishna. And that battle comes at different places. I mean, today or yesterday, there was this quote that was shared by in our group, in our WhatsApp group. I'll just take it out if I see. I'll just read it out. Yeah. So this quote was shared in the group by Prabhupada. This is 2nd September 1976 in New Delhi, morning walk. Spiritual master's qualification is that he is trying his best to deliver the soul from these clutches of Maya. That is a great service. Therefore, he is very dear. He is very dear to Krishna. One who is chanting or executing devotional service for his personal benefit, and one who is trying to deliver others for others' benefit, there is difference. So this battle will come in many ways. In the beginning, the battle is for one's own Krishna consciousness. Like one's family members will, kind of oppose, one's friends will ridicule him, or his colleagues may, pass comments or treat him differently, in making insinuations and so many things, making his life uncomfortable. And he has to fight this battle for Krishna. At that stage, one has to not be discouraged by those things. Those are Maya's temptations to keep one in Maya. So that's a battle when one grows in devotional service. So that's the first battle. Maya will present so many allurements, so many ways to drag you down. Now, when one has passed those battles and has dedicated his life to Krishna despite all kinds of inconveniences or family pressures or government pressure or friends pressure or whatever pressure, and one goes above all of that and fights the battle for Krishna and becomes a Krishna's devotee, then comes next set of battles. The next set of battles is in the preaching work. Now he's fixed in his service and he is now trying to help others. So a second class devotee, he will, of course, he is trying to advance himself as well, and he is also trying to help others. That's a second class devotee. And in that there are different set of battles. There are also these personal battles where now one is situated in devotional service, but then as one improves in devotional service and engages, there are these weeds that grow. I'm a good singer, I'm a good book distributor, I'm a good chef for Krishna, I can cook very nicely, or I can dress the deities very nicely. So this is pride in the service of Krishna. So then we have to fight those things. That's a battle there. And then also in our dealings with other devotees, we have to be careful not to commit offenses. So those become the focus point of advancing devotee in that stage. At the same time, as he is conducting missionary activities on the order of his spiritual master, he has to, of course, if he's a brahmachari, then there is also the restraint from sense gratification, considering every woman as the mother and all these things. That also is a battle, right? It's for Krishna though. And even otherwise, even Grihastha also has to consider, other than Matravat Paradareshu, other than one's wife, everybody is like mother. So that is going on. That is on a personal level. But while preaching, we have to meet so many opposing elements. So many government may not cooperate, or some section of people of the public may not cooperate, and they will, put forward some hindrances. There will be so many challenges in the course of preaching work. So that's a battle one has to fight while preaching, and usually that will take up entire lifetime. of preaching and training devotees. That's a battle, in a way that, in the sense that, to make them advanced, encourage them, at the same time keep them humble, train them up, inspire them, engage them in service, and inspire them to take up responsibilities of service so that they can guide others. So this whole thing is it's a lot of work involved, a lot of service there. But all this is because it's related to Krishna. Maham Anusmara Yudhya. In Arjuna's case, he was actually fighting a real battle with bows and arrows and everything. We are not skilled in that way. But in our own way, everyone's life is a battle. And that battle has to be fought for Krishna. Then we can always remember Krishna. There is no other way. We cannot fight a battle of our own in our own way and at the same time think of Krishna, because it is not possible, because our attraction is somewhere else, our affection is somewhere else. I cannot think of Krishna like that. I can only think of Krishna if I have preeti for Krishna. Preeti purvakam. So we have to increase our attachment for Krishna. Then we can do this transcendental meditation where it can be done any time of the day, wherever. So that is called Dhimahi. I meditate upon Krishna. This Gayatri mantra, of course there is a Brahma Gayatri which everybody knows, and it is popularized everywhere in the musical way. That's not supposed to be done like that. That's nonsense actually. It is actually to be received from the Guru during the second initiation, Brahman initiation day. That's when we receive, and that too from the right ear, and then we repeat that word silently. And of course it is to the sun, but also the sun means it's not that the demigod sun only. The sun is the eye of the Supreme Lord requesting. So we are requesting that we want to be shown the right path. Open our eyes, because our eyes, we cannot see anything until the Lord shows us. And the sun is the eye of the Lord, and unless the sun shines its light, we cannot see that thing. So the first seer of everything is the Lord, and we are the secondary seer of anything. If we have seen something, that means the Lord has already seen it. If we have thought something, the Lord has already thought about it and saw it and made it and did it, everything. So we are only secondary doers in there. So the real doer is the Lord. So the prayer is to be guided, one's eyes open, be guided in such a way that one is open, his eyes are open to the truth and is not sleeping. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. So we should not stay in the darkness, we should come to the light, we should open our eyes. So in this way, it is actually Brahma Gayatri, it is the sound representation of Brahman, which is the ultimate station or ultimate platform or position in which Krishna exists. Brahma bhuta prasannatmana shauchatina kankshati. So Brahman, that Brahman has three stages, of course, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, but all are Brahman. All can be termed as Brahman. So Brahma Gayatri is of course, that is not the only Gayatri. There are many Gayatris. If you are initiated by Prabhupada's second initiation, Brahman initiation, you will know you will have to chant 7 Gayatri mantras. And there are other Gayatris also for other, like Narsimha. So even for the demigods there are Gayatris, but we are not concerned with that. We are concerned with Krishna and his expansions. But this Dhimahi means I am meditating on. There is Guru Gayatri, there is Gaura Gayatri, there is Kama Gayatri, so which devotees chant when they are second initiated. So these Gayatri mantras are very, very powerful, and they're actually sound representations of the pastime of the Lord and one's meditation on the pastime, which eventually manifests one's Swarupa. And this is explained in the Brahma Samhita, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th verses there. And Bhaktisiddhanta explains in a very, very deep way. Sometimes it's difficult to understand the hexagonal machinery and all of that. Actually, it's what he meant is the yantra, which has the hexagonal shape. We see sometimes they have Lakshmi Yantra, they have this plate, and then they have the drawing. So those have significance. I am not fully aware of the significance of those shapes and everything, but that is kind of described by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in a deep way in the purport in the Brahma Samhita. Maybe if you have time, you can go and read it, because I don't have that much time. We can go over it, but it's, the English is difficult to parse, and to explain each sentence will take some time. So Kamya is asking, so these all are called Gayatri mantras. Like from the very start, we knew only one Gayatri mantra. That is called the Brahma Gayatri. There are other Gayatris. There are many Gayatris. And there are pastime Gayatris as well, which Bhaktisiddhanta actually explains. Maybe we can go there, but it's a whole rabbit hole. But the point is, Gayatri, I do not know why it is called Gayatri. The only my logical brain, which may be full of speculation and not maybe right, but Gaya means sing, Tri is three. Like in Sanskrit also, three means three. Gayatri. First of all, it's chanted 3 times in a day in the Trisandhya. But if I analyze a little, it also has the 3 divisions of knowledge: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha is the relationship between us and the Supreme Lord. Sambandha. What is our relationship with the Supreme Lord? So He is the Supreme Whole and we are His part and parcel. So He is to be served, we are the servitors. So that's the relationship. We are eternal loving servant of Kṛṣṇa. That's our constitutional position. So that is our Sambandha. Abhideya means to actually involve or engage in the devotional service. So when we say Dhimahi, then it means that I am meditating on the Supreme Lord, on the name, on the form, on the pastimes, on the entourage, paraphernalia, everything, qualities of the Lord. So that is meditation. So this is actually the 9 forms of devotional service, and that is Abhideya. And what are we meditating on? On the Supreme Lord, His pastimes. Like Kama Gayatri is about His pastimes with the gopis. In that way, and Guru Gayatri is there, Gaura Gayatri is there. So all these are meditations on the Supreme Lord and His dear devotee, and their pastimes, how they are serving the Supreme Lord, and how the Lord is engaged with His devotees. So that pastime, to engage with Kṛṣṇa in those pastimes which are mentioned in the Gayatri, that is the love of Godhead, the one's situation in original Swarupa, in one's original relationship with the Supreme Lord, which is love of Godhead, and that is the Prayojana. And the meditation on that and the process of engaging in devotional service, Dhimahi, is the Abhideya. And why I should meditate? Because my Sambandha with the Supreme Lord is that I am the servant of the Supreme Lord. So all 3 divisions of complete knowledge, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, of spiritual knowledge, the 3 divisions of spiritual knowledge are implicitly mentioned in the Gayatri. And Hare Krishna Mahamantra also has these 3 features. Hara means the energy of the Supreme Lord, of course represented by Srimati Radharani. But when we say Radharani, every other energy that exists in any form, even Durga Devi and her subsidiary energies, are all expansions from Radharani. Durga Devi is the material expansion of Lakshmi Devi, and Lakshmi Devi is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. So Radharani is the original energy of the Supreme Lord, and that energy percolates and expands and percolates into everything that exists. So all the energy, even the bhunmi, apa, anlo, vayu, kham, the five elements, the gross elements, the three subtle elements, all these energies are involved, are included in that word Hara, Hare Krishna. So, of course, the pleasure potency is the supreme potency, Srimati Radharani, but everything is actually for Krishna's pleasure, ultimately. So, the energy of the Supreme Lord, especially Srimati Radharani, and Krishna, and Rama. Rama is also another name of Krishna, the supreme pleasure, the reservoir of all pleasure, and Krishna means the all attractive person, and Hare means, or Hara means, the Srimati Radharani, who is the pleasure potency of the Lord. So Hare Krishna means, O Krishna, O Radharani, please engage me in your service. Chanting their names and begging them for service. That means there is the understanding that I am Krishna's servant, Sambandha. I want service. In fact, chanting itself is service. Please engage me in your service. So Abhidheya. And finally, the Prayojana means to actually serve Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. So all three are there in the Hare Krishna mantra also. So that's why from the Hare Krishna mantra, all knowledge can be had. So once one devotee asked me, way back, this was like 15 years back, one devotee asked me, Prabhu, we are chanting Hare Krishna, but how to understand that we are not the body? How to understand that? I said, Prabhu, actually, the chanting of Hare Krishna includes the knowledge of we not being the body. Because when I am saying Hare Krishna, I am saying that I am spirit soul, you, Radha and Krishna are my worshipable object. And I don't want, please engage me in your service. I don't want to engage in Maya's service. I want your service. So in that, there is the implicit understanding that I am not the body and nothing of this body belongs to me. And my so-called relatives and relations and my property and this and that is related to this body is not mine. And I only belong to Krishna. So I should serve Krishna. So please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. That is the meaning of Hare Krishna mantra. That means in that mantra, the knowledge that I am not this body is the very first step of that mantra. That is also Sambandha Gyan. To understand what is our relationship with the Supreme Lord, we should understand that what we are not related with. We think we are related with this material world. We are not. Material world is related with Krishna. We are also related with Krishna. But we think we are related with the material world. We are not related with the material world. We are related in one way through Krishna. But we think our relationship is direct with this material world. That is the problem. So we have to dissociate ourselves from that and we have to associate ourselves with Krishna. So that is Sambandha. So that is already implicit in the mantra when we say that please engage me in your service. I am a spirit soul. I don't belong to this material world. This body is not mine. This body is yours. I am yours. Please engage me in your service. So, in this way, if we analyze, all the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are there in the Hare Krishna mantra. You analyze every single shloka of Bhagavad Gita and see whether that meaning is already there in the Hare Krishna mantra. You will always find it is there. And if you cannot find it, take help from a devotee. He will explain how it is related in one way or another to the Hare Krishna mantra. And Hare Krishna mantra is the culmination of all that 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, the 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam, the 100,000 verses of Mahabharata, 25,000 verses of Ramayana. It's the culmination of everything. That's where it is said, Sarva Veda, what is that? Iti Shodashakam Namnam Kalikalmasha Nashanam Natah Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. There is no other better way than chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And if you search the entire Vedic literature, you will never find a better way. And in the first verse of the Shikshashtaka, it is said, Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. All transcendental knowledge in its perfection will reach the Hare Krishna mantra. That is stated. I mean, you see, let's take this verse 828 of Bhagavad Gita. Vedeshu yajneshu tapahsu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas. That means, if he is in devotional service, the result of studying the Vedas is already done. Because Veda means knowledge, Vedanta. Now, Vedanta krit Vedavideva chaham. The end of all knowledge, the end of all quest for knowledge will end at the Supreme Lord, because he is the culmination of all knowledge. So if we are already engaging in his service, we already have the benefit of all knowledge. Because all knowledge should lead us to serving Krishna. So, and that service is automatically done by chanting. What is that? Navavidha Purna. Nama hoite hoy. Yeah. Eka Krishna nama kore sarva papakshay navavidha bhakti purna nama hoite hoy. 1507 Madhya. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna once, a person is relieved from all the reactions of a sinful life. One can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy name. So 828 says, Bhagavad Gita, that devotional service, if we are engaged in, we have all the results of Vedas, the Yajnas, Tapas and everything. So that devotional service, if we are chanting, we have the fruit of all devotional service. You see, one can complete the 9 processes of devotional service simply by chanting the holy name. So while chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, Vidya Vadhu Jivanam, this is the meaning of the Shiksha-shtaka, that part. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam, it is the life of all transcendental knowledge. All knowledge, just like our soul, I mean, we the soul are the life of this body. This body shows symptoms of life because of the presence of the soul. Similarly, all knowledge, it is the life of all knowledge, means the knowledge has any meaning only because of the Hare Krishna mantra, only because of this holy name of Krishna. Otherwise, all knowledge, there's no meaning. It has to culminate in the Hare Krishna. In fact, for us, from our perspective, it seems that all knowledge will lead to, the end of all knowledge will lead to Hare Krishna mantra, Vedanta. Right? Actually, it is interesting. That word Vedanta, Anta means end. End, start. Where is the start then? Start is when we have Athato Brahma Jignasa. When we have a questioning in the Vedanta Sutra, the first word, our first aphorism is Athato Brahma Jignasa. That Jignasa, that perplexity. Why? Why am I dying? Why will I die? I don't want to die. Why did I take birth? What is this material world? Why am I here? What happens after death? What happened before my birth? Is there a God? Who is he? These questions will come to a person who is perplexed, who has a confusion. So that confusion is called Arambha, Vidyarambha. So, and then Vedanta, the end of knowledge, is when we understand the complete quest of knowledge, which is Krishna. But if you see, that is only from our perspective, that Krishna is the end of everything. But actually, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavaha. Krishna says, I am the origin of everything. I am not the end of course, he is the end and middle and beginning of everything, but actually, he is the origin of everything. Everything comes from him. When he says, I am the end of everything, that means its dissolution and its maintenance is done by him. But actually, he is the source of everything. So he is the beginning. For us, it's the end, because From our vantage point, our starting point is when we have the confusion about life. That's when we start to inquire, hey, wait a minute, what is life? Who am I? That's the beginning. And then at the end, we will reach the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am his servant. I should serve him. I should go back to Krishna. I should serve him eternally. That's the end of all knowledge. And to actually engage in that service and to achieve that goal, prayojana, that is the end of all knowledge. So everything is culminating in that Mahamantra. Mahamantra has everything. Vidyavadhu Jivanam. So Gayatri, when I think of that word Gayatri, Gayatri, it is chanted or sung in a particular meter 3 times a day. And also it has these 3 aspects of transcendental knowledge, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. And because it has all 3, it is perfect. Chandasam Gayatri. What is Gayatri Chandasa? What is Chandasoyam? What did he say? Today's verse. Gayatri Chandasaham. Chandasamaham. Sorry, Chandasamaham. Gayatri Chandasamaham. So that's why Gayatri is a representation of him, because it is a complete, it is like the Vidyavadhu Jivanam. The Hare Krishna mantra is also a representation of Krishna. It is Krishna in fact. Abhinnatvan nama nama, no. So that's why he said of poetry, I am the Gayatri. In some poetry, the melody may be nice, but how much of all 3 aspects of knowledge are mentioned has to be evaluated. Some not so. I mean, of course, all, you see, Vaishnava songs or anything have all these features. Vaishnava songs and prayers of Vaishnavas, they have all these aspects. So how much of all these aspects are there, that much it is more and more glorified. So Gayatri has all 3 aspects, which is why here it is said, amongst the regulated poetry, the Gayatri mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmanas, is the most prominent. The Gayatri mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate on that absolute truth. Oh, who is that? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna, who is son of Vasudeva, he is the supreme absolute truth. I meditate upon him. That's the Gayatri mantra. And on this verse, on this first verse of Bhagavatam, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whose disappearance day is tomorrow, he spoke on the first verse of Bhagavatam in Dhaka, Bangladesh, for 3 months. His Bhagavatam class, on the first verse of Bhagavatam, 3 months he spoke. Imagine how much meaning there is in that one verse of Bhagavatam. Each, prati akshare, prati shabde, prati akshare nanarthak hoy. Prati shloke. Krishna tulya bhagavat vibhu sarvashray, prati shloke pratyakshare nana arthakoy. Srimad Bhagavatam is as great as Krishna, the supreme lord and shelter of everything. In each and every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam and in each and every syllable, there are various meanings. 24.318. So in this way, it is mentioned. So because the Gayatri mantra is especially meant for God realization, it represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. How much time do we have? 9:30. I wanted to actually show a little bit of that Brahma Samhita purport, where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains, although it is difficult to parse, it's difficult to understand. but it requires some explanation on how this Gayatri actually facilitates one to meditate on the transcendental pastime of the Lord, but it's not to be imitated. Now we have to chant it as a matter of routine, as a matter of discipline, because of initiation. But then, um, as one advances more and more, he becomes absorbed in that pastime that is mentioned in the Kama Gayatri, and in that way reinstates his position in the eternal dancing party of Krishna in the Ras Leela. So I don't want to go there. It's a whole topic on its own. Maybe we should do Brahma Samhita class series, and in that I have to explain slowly that thing, because the language is very difficult. It's not very easy to understand in one reading. So I'll explain another day that thing, that purport, to whatever extent I understand, because it's a very difficult subject. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature, in order to chant the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahma. Brahma is its initiator, and it is passed down from him in disciplic succession. The month of November-December, Margashirsha, is considered the best of all months because in India, grains are collected from the fields at this time and the people become very happy. You see why Krishna says I'm Margashirsha month? Because everybody is happy. See how much he cares for us, that when we become happy when our necessities are met. We're not very Krishna conscious in this material world, and we are happy when our necessities of food are met. So according to what we feel pleasurable, he's saying something. Oh, we find Margashirsha month pleasurable because there is harvest, and that's why there is Makara Sankranti, January 14th, is when they celebrate a harvest festival. And nowadays it has become ceremonial, but actually it is very much connected with our existence. Because ultimately we need food for our sustenance. If we just simplify our life without having to build stupid technologies, technologies which are advanced, definitely, but which is making us more and more go away from our real aim of life, making it very complicated to just survive. And we don't even know how survival looks like in its primal form. What do I mean by that? That means we are struggling hard to survive, right? In a city setting, we are, working hard day and night, from morning to night, to get some food. But the way we get our food is through supermarket, or order something and then it comes delivered to a home, cooked food. So that is our so-called survival. Our kind of sustenance, eating. That is not how eating looks like in its primal form. In its primal form, for civilized human beings, agriculture is the primal form of sustenance. And ultimately, whatever we are eating by delivery, food delivery apps or whatever on our phone, or whether we till the land and have land and cultivate vegetables and fruits and grains and eat it, our stomachs are going to get full anyway. Our stomachs will get filled. What is full? Filled. Our stomachs will get filled anyway. But you see, what kind of activities are filling our stomachs today versus what activities used to fill our stomachs back in the day in Vedic times when agriculture was the primary occupation. Our current activities have nothing to do with food generation at all. Food is another industry and it's going through so many hands, processing and everything. It is coming in a very different way compared to a very simple way from the land to the hands and to the mouth. So it could have been that simple. It can be that simple actually. But we have created this whole range of activities of industrialization, technology, education, and training ourselves to become these big CEOs or technologists or scientists and this and that. In the end, we need food. We are working for a salary, or we're working for our sustenance, or our livelihood, which can be just done in a very simple way. But we have overcomplicated this thing, and our sustenance, our eating also is not in the primal form. It's very artificially coming to us, and which depends so much on transportation systems and this technology and the oil and the politics that come with it. We have complicated the system so much just to survive. So this is not how primal living looks like. Life should be very simple. Kamasya nendriya priti labho jivete yavata jivasya tattva jignasa nartho yascheha karmabhi. Simple life and spare time for thinking about life and contemplating on the spiritual subject matters. Having said that, a devotee will never shun away from technology. For example, Narad Muni has this amazing technology of being able to travel anywhere in the universe. Compare that to today's planes and spacecraft and Elon Musk's, returning landing spacecraft, which he caught with his robotic arms called chopsticks recently. And everybody was like, "Oh, this is the pinnacle of mankind. We are advancing. We are living in the future now." Hello, millions of years in the past, this was going on. And Narad Muni used to land nicely and then talk and preach Krishna consciousness and go and fly to another planet and preach Krishna consciousness there, go to the hell and preach Krishna consciousness there, go to the heaven, go to Vaikuntha. He is going planets after planets into the spiritual and material world. He is going everywhere. What kind of technology he has access to? Vyasadeva could show Sanjay by his own mystic power that whole Kurukshetra war. Many times I told this example. What kind of technology is that? So, Prabhupada once said, he was waiting in the airport for a plane, and he said actually only devotees should use aeroplane. Only they use for the best possible reason, because they go and preach. Which Narad Muni and all these great devotees they're doing. Right? So actually, others what they're doing while traveling here and there? What are they doing? Just their sense gratification. That they can do wherever they're sitting also they can do that. Even if they just have an agricultural land and some cows, and they can have nice sense gratification. You travel here and there and here and there and do what? What is the achievement? There's nothing significant that is achieved there. If anything, damage is done. Because, for example, say a tourist location. First of all, people go to tourist location because kind of atheism. They don't go to a place of pilgrimage. They go to a tourist location to enjoy their senses, not to a holy place where they can actually meet sadhus and elevate in spiritual life. Previously also there was concept of holidays, but such holidays used to be spiritual. Go to pilgrimage and associate with sadhus and learn something and come back with a renewed spiritual understanding, and then get on with life, trying to put those into practice likewise. But today, go to some exotic location, so-called beach or something, and just have sense gratification, come back. And more people go there, there is more pollution there. There will be aircraft, there will be airport, there will be, they will use plastic and this and that, and then contaminate the place there, and then there is, if anything, and then once people go in a large numbers to a particular place, then there will be businesses there, and then there will be, unless all these things will start. We're not against businesses or anything, but material activities will start, and it's just a way of sense gratification, and it leads to pollution, it leads to political and economic or whatever problems, everything. I mean, there are so many things that can be damaged by such travel of these people. Whereas when sadhus travel, they travel for the benefit of everyone. This is explained multiple times. जनस्य कृष्णाद् विमुखस्य दैवाद् अधर्मशीलस्य सुदुःखितस्य अनुग्रहायेह चरन्ति नूनं भूतानि भव्यानि जनार्दनस्य. O my Lord, great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to show compassion to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord. Mahad vichalanam narinam grahinam dina chetasam nishreyasaya bhagavan kalpatenanyatha kvachit. 10.8.4 Bhagavatam. The earlier one was 3.5.3 Bhagavatam. O my Lord, O great devotee, persons like you move from one place to another not for their own interests, but for the sake of poor-hearted grihasthas, householders. Otherwise, they have no interest in going from one place to another. This is true. Like in January, there is a preaching tour that I'm also part of with Sunagopal Prabhu, where he's going to Reunion Island, which is near Mauritius. And when materialists would think, "Hey, wow, you're going to Mauritius to preach. Oh, that's a nice place." We are not concerned with the place. In fact, yes, it's a beautiful place, but we have never gone there. We are only going there because there is a devotee there, and we want to set up some preaching there. So this is the reason. I mean, whether it is a beautiful place or whether it's an ugly place. We also go to Bangladesh. We went to Bangladesh also. We went to India also, where not so beautiful, city, and horrible. I went to India. Cities are just horrible. I mean, just recently the Delhi was pollution was max. I've never seen those numbers. AQI number 1780. What is that? 1780. Pollution is. I've never seen such numbers. But preaching has to happen. So whether it is a ugly place or a beautiful place, that doesn't matter at all. If there can be preaching done, yes, devotee will go. So devotees, they go on behalf of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, there is no real need to travel. And in a way, you see, today, if I have to fly from one place to another in an aircraft, unless there is a lot of people taking up, traveling, the ticket cannot be cheap. If there is so many people using it, then it can be cheap. Then I can also actually fly to some place and actually do preaching. But if only devotees travel, then not many, people will fly, and then flights will be expensive and everything. So there is a conundrum. Like it can, yes, we have to. Devotees will actually fly and preach, but they cannot do it if the materialists also don't fly. But you see, Narad Muni, he doesn't have to wait for materialists, and he doesn't have to sit in economy class seat or something. Nothing. He alone will fly without any machine, and it's not just flying. He can teleport himself better than flying. You know what is teleportation? Disappear here, appear somewhere else. It's way more advanced than flying. Disappear on this planet, appear on another planet. What kind of traveling is that? That kind of technology, yogic powers, he has. And he doesn't have to depend on the materialists also taking to that, and then he is one of the customer of that whole arrangement. No. Look at the difference. Only qualified people had access to such powers, like these great sages. Whereas now, everybody has access, and because of that, the devotees also have access. And we are also not so powerful, like, we can go here and there, yogis or what. So we kind of need this system in order to go. But ultimately, actually, only devotees actually deserve to move. But for them to move in this Kali Yuga situation, others also have to move. Only then their ticket will be cheaper. Otherwise, they can never afford the ticket, and then they can never go there. Even this live stream, we are streaming live. This is only happening because there is social media is getting ad revenue from others, so they are offering some things free for us to use. So if that machinery, that whole industry is not there, we cannot have this live stream and you sitting thousands of kilometers away using this. We cannot have this. So we're kind of dependent. So we are trying to make the best use of a bad bargain and trying to spiritualize whatever we have, latching on to whatever we have. This is called Yukta Vairagya. When we are not so powerful like Hanuman or Narad Muni, who can do wonderful things in the service of the Lord, we are ordinary souls. So we are kind of still, you see, Srila Prabhupada, although he went in a, what is that, freighter ship, and he went, as if the result will not be anything less than those mystically perfected yogis like Narad Muni or Hanuman or. So they flew, they jumped, and then they made impact. Prabhupada also went in the so-called, not in a jumping way or a flying way, but in a ship like that with heart attack and everything. But impact, what kind of impact he had? That is same, whether Prabhupada or Narad Muni, the same impact. So that is where a pure devotee is non-different from any other pure devotee, whether it be with the display of mystic powers or seemingly without the display of mystic powers. Actually, Prabhupada had all mystic powers at his command. When you're a pure devotee, you will go through these tests of having all the access to mystic powers, and when you're thoroughly disinterested, only then will you have complete access to devotional service. And that is explained by Narad Muni, I think in 1638. I don't know, I don't remember. No, maybe 1625, somewhere around there. No, not this. Somewhere in the first canto, 6th chapter, Narad Muni actually explains, if anybody can find, maybe they can share it in the comment section. Narad Muni explains that, before getting access to complete pure devotional service of the Lord, I don't know whether it's Narad Muni or whether it was Prahlad Maharaj. I think it's Narad Muni. So, anyway, one will have access to all Ashtasiddhis. When one is thoroughly disinterested, then he will have access to, Krishna will benedict him with Krishna Bhakti. So, you see how advanced, how elevated this position of devotional service is. And that is the stage at which traveling is worth it. But otherwise, for us to be happy in this material world, for a normal person, the months of November, December, give happiness because of grains, which we can have food. Now, this Makara Sankranti, this harvest festival, is not so relevant for us. Most of us, we don't even know when the harvest happens. We just have food any time of the year, any time of the day, because of supermarkets and everything. So it's very artificial. We are not connected with the way the nature's arrangement is. We have created an artificial layer of arrangement which makes us dissociate ourselves from the natural arrangement of Krishna. Ultimately, it has to come from the natural arrangement of Krishna anyway, whether it's January or December or June. All the food has to come from the farms. So ultimately, it's Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's rain, and everything has to be there. But we have created a system where we are divorced from that idea of having to get this food from a farm somewhere, but have it available next street in the supermarket or something like that. So we have gotten used to this arrangement, especially in city life, urban life. And even if it's not a supermarket, maybe a vegetable market, again, that is a secondary arrangement. Where it is coming from, where? So in a way, it's convenience. Of course, it is convenience. But we have to be as close to the nature's system as possible, so that we're always conscious of Krishna. We should optimize our existence in such a way that we're always conscious of Krishna. And everything that we see reminds us of Krishna. Of course, this can be done in any situation, even in an urban setting. But, we will appreciate Krishna's arrangements more in the natural setting, because it's Krishna's raw or pure arrangements. Now, when we don't see how crops are grown and how Krishna's arrangement of different things are, we cannot really appreciate. We only appreciate the transport system, the countries' political connections with other countries, so that they can import. They have treaties, trade treaties, and corridors, economic corridors, and stuff like that, supply chain. So we give credit to these aspects of our food than the way it is naturally done, where we can easily, see how Krishna is making the arrangement. So that's something to think about. That's why Prabhupada, wanted these farm communities not to be reliant on this artificial machinery that is giving us the so-called food. Now, if we don't toe the line, that means if we don't adhere to the rules and regulations of the government, we are starved. Like what happened during COVID, classic example, and it's going to happen more and more in the future of Kali Yuga. The governments will harass people so much that they want to run to the forest. And during COVID, we actually wanted to go to the farm and live there and grow our own crops, and how nice if we had that freedom. We were thinking like that, and it happened for 2 years. It was like a little bit of a constraint, but now there is again freedom of movement, and we kind of forgot that again. But Bhagavatam says that, I think in the 12th canto, where it is said that people will be taxed and harassed so much by the government that they will run to the forests. I think 12 to 8. Okay, yeah. 12 to 8. प्रजाहि लुब्धैराजन्यैर्निर्गृहणैर् दस्युधर्मभिः आच्छिन्नदारद्रविणा यास्यन्ति गिरिकाननम. Girikananam. Giri means mountain, Kananam means forest. Losing their wives and properties to such avaricious and merciless rulers who will behave no better than ordinary thieves, the citizens will flee to the mountains and forests. And there, if you go to mountains and forests, you will quickly have to be aware of the nature's arrangements of things. And there you have to know how to live in primal terms, on how real life looks like, stripped of all the layers of urbanism that give us an artificial sense of convenience at the cost of simplicity. We have lost that simplicity of life with this complex urban setting arrangement. So at the cost of simplicity, we are having a so-called convenience where we don't have to worry about wild animals or insects or anything. We live in this sanitized urban civilization with supermarket and everything, and we don't have to worry about tilling the land and worrying about the rain or not. I just have to walk to the supermarket and get my thing. As long as I have money, in order to get money, you do work here. In order to work, you have to go to school. So we have created an artificial thing which so-called seems to be the provider of our necessities, which are ultimately coming from the primal source of the forest and like agriculture and dairy and all that. So it is an atheistic system, a pseudo system of supply, which blinds us from looking at the actual arrangements of the Lord. And I have to actually give credit to Prabhupada's books and the Shastra, the shlokas many times. Like there was one shloka. Where was it? Let me see if I can find it. Okay, Adi 344. आजानुलंबित भुज कमललोचन तिलफुल जिनिनासा सुधांशुवदन. His arms are long enough to reach his knees. His eyes are just like lotus flowers. His nose is like a sesame flower, and his face is as beautiful as the moon. So when I saw this, his nose is like a sesame flower, I was thinking, wait, I only know sesame seed till, and I don't have any idea how the leaf of that plant looks like, how the plant looks like, in which part of the plant the seeds come, and does it have even a flower? Really? Then I actually Google search sesame flower, and it does look like a nose, perfect nose. And I was like, wow, look at these descriptions of the Shastra, they're so perfect, and they're always connected to natural things. So I have to thank these shlokas many times, through which I found how nature works. Like, for example, how we should study Shastra. Simhavalokana, Gaganavalokana. Simhavalokana means um, the way a lion patrols his territory, how he walks. So he walks and then he sees everything, he surveys everything, and then he looks back. He just makes sure no intruder is there, and then walks, and then again looks back. So like that. So when we study, we should study, and if you look back, okay, this is in context. So in what context this was said? In that way, we have to, when we learn something, we should also know the surroundings of it. In that way, that is Simhavalokana. And Gaganavalokana means sky, bird's eye view. The whole span of, say, Bhagavad Gita, what is the whole subject matter and kind of divisions, like broad perspective. And once you zoom in to one particular chapter, one particular section of a chapter, for example, third chapter, 37 to 43rd verse, the last 7 verses of Bhagavad Gita it's a masterclass on lust. So that section, when you zoom in like that in a section, and then what led to the section of Arjuna's question, and what led to Arjuna's question, what impelled him to ask that question, and what Krishna was saying before that. So that is Simhavalokana in a zoomed in perspective, and what is the surrounding neighboring verses. But then the overall bird's eye view, this chapter talks about roughly this subject, and each chapter is about this subject. Although each chapter has a name, but also it has these subsections of set of verses which talk about a particular thing, and then there is the meandering of the topics of Bhagavad Gita or of the Bhagavatam, how the subject is led from one to other to other to other. So these both views should be there when studying. So that's when I heard that word Simhavalokana, then I knew how even lions patrol their territory. I did not know how lions patrol their territory. And when I was singing I made a video on my channel, Nityananda Ashtakam, and Kṛṣṇa Katitata, the waist of Nityananda is like the waist of a lion, the thin, slender waist of a lion. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, how does a lion's waist look like? Then I went and saw some videos of the lion. Oh wow, actually it makes a lot of sense, and it's very majestic. Compared to a tiger, a lion looks more majestic, and it's also to do with that thin waist, which tiger does not have. Tiger has a fatty kind of waist. It is like of course it's a powerful animal, maybe sometimes even more powerful than a lion sometimes, but it's a solitary animal, and it doesn't have such regal presence. It is hiding in the forests and stuff like that, but lion is in the open, and it commands respect, and the courage of the lion is something else. So Simha, I knew about the body structure of the lion. I knew about the gait of the lion. How he patrols, how he walks, and how he looks here and there, and how we should study. And then the bird's eye view, and the sesame flower. There, I can give you so many examples like that, of how a turtle, 258, second chapter, 58th verse, the example of the turtle is given, how a Goswami. So in this way, there are so many things that ties to nature, and I knew about nature because of these verses. Otherwise, I would have never known. I just grew up in the city, and I knew nothing about how primal life looks like. Primal in its original way, how life looks like. Hardly had any experience. We know medicines, by going to the pharmacy shop and getting some tablet or something. But those who know rural life, they know that okay, if you have a cough, that plant, that leaf you take and then chew on it, you'll be all right. I was like, what? Because one of our devotee's mother came, and the devotee just lives next door to this temple, and she was an elderly lady, and then she was walking, and then she, oh, that plant, oh, this is good, this leaf is very good, this is good for our immunity and blood purification, even more bitter than neem leaf. And if you have cough or fever or something, you can just drink this, boil it in the water and drink that bitter. It's very, very, very bitter. And I also tasted it when she told like that. And nice, I never knew. I mean, it's a medicinal plant sitting right there, standing rather. I mean, every day we are walking around, I mean, past that. We never knew what it was, but she knew. So, knowledge is there, but we just cut off. And also, people could tell the time by looking at the sun. They don't need these devices, smartwatch, and they were smart. They don't need watch. They're not stupid to have a smartwatch. They need no watch because they were so smart that they can tell the time by looking at the sun. Very sharp and very accurate. And they had everything. I mean, even there is a Chandrayaan, for example. No, Chandrayana. Chandrayaan is, of course, so-called moon mission. But Chandrayana is a vrata where one eats one morsel of food on the first day of the moon. Amavasa, he completely fasts. And second day of the moon, he takes 2 morsels in every meal of his. Third, 3 morsels, like that. 15th, and then the full moon day, 15 morsels. So something like this. He eats according to the moon's movement. So there is Chandrayana. It's one of the karmakandiya processes. But they are in touch with the moon cycles. I mean, how the moon is moving. And now, even if we know that this is Ekadashi or that is, whatever, we don't have much context on why we should know that this is Ekadashi, this is Trayodasi, this. And I still do not know why very well, but there is a lot of, I mean, if we can have, we only have context of solar calendar, like, January, February, March, and stuff like that, but we don't have similar understanding of the lunar calendar very well. So we just depend on apps. We are depending on these apps, when is the appearance day or disappearance of certain acharya or the lord or something. We are not very aware of how the moon's movements are working. And then even an ordinary person in the rural setting back in those days, they used to know these things in a very matter-of-fact manner. They don't have to be very intelligent people or something. They easily knew these things, but we are kind of cut off from that now. So that's what, I mean, I'm going on a rant, but but yeah, the month of November, December, harvest and all that, primal life, simple living, high thinking. And because they give us necessities, Krishna says, I am Margashirsha. And of course, spring is a season, reading on in the purport, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring, there are also many ceremonies commemorating Krishna's pastimes. Therefore, this is considered to be the most joyful of all seasons, and it is a representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So again, beautiful season, spring, where, after the rainy season, and I mean, there is this nice, flowering and blooming of the whole. In fact, I don't even know the proper order of seasons. That bad. But, it's all very beautiful. Everything is fresh and green, and, everything is nice. Everything is colorful in that season, spring. And also because that is also, it's very romantic. And Krishna and the gopis, they used to have all the pastimes which we commemorate, like the Jhulan Yatra, the Janmashtami, the Balram Jayanti, Balram Purnima. And then there is of course, for us, we have Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja as well. And many festivals come in that season. And actually, there are other festivals which we don't celebrate. They're also there, related to Radha Krishna pastimes. So that is also one of the seasons. And that is also one of the reasons why the season is season. It's sounding like poetry, this verse. So that's one of the reasons why the season of spring is considered one of the best, the best season, and Krishna is a representative of Krishna. Not only because it's materially beautiful, but also Krishna's pastimes also are commemorated in this. So spiritually also it has value. So that's about this verse. And now I will stop it here. I will see if there are any questions or comments. There are many comments. Why would the Vedas be sung at midnight? Well, Jagaran, when there is Jagaran, one is not just watching some movies and keeping himself awake by eating some chips. He's actually doing Vedic chants and remembering the Supreme Lord. That's the proper way to do it. So probably during that time in midnight, maybe they chant these things. Even on Ekadashi as well, like that. 11, 9, 13. What is that? I don't know. Anything related to this? Better be related because we don't have much time. Thus, when one's consciousness is completely fixed on the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one no longer sees duality or internal and external reality. The example is given of the arrow maker, who was so absorbed in making a straight arrow that he did not even see or notice the king himself who was passing right next to him. Very nice. Actually, this is one of the 24 gurus, right? The arrow maker. Focus. Gayatri Devi is Brahma's wife. I could visit a temple of Gayatri Devi in Sumerpur, Uttar Pradesh. They told Brahma's wife. I mean, see, all these mantras have personalities as well. They exist in mantra form and they also exist in personality form. Like Kṛṣṇa, he and his name are non-different. So, if I can show you, all the personalities are existing also in mantra form. Like when we say Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale, like this, Prabhupada is there in mantra form in that. This is especially true for spiritual personalities where they exist. So, as 5.4, no, 5.5 probably, or 5.6. Yeah, Chaturasram Tatparitaha. Okay, so these verses, 5.5, I think there are many verses in 5.5 itself, but if we go here, they're all Neela and all this are there, right? Okay. You see, there are, okay. This is the, okay, it's very difficult to understand, but I'll just read it. On around surrounding the Vaikuntha, there is a quadrangular region, and that is explained here. The surrounding external plane of Gokula is described in this verse. There is a mysterious quadrangular place named Shvetadvipa surrounding the outskirts of Gokula. Shvetadvip is divided into 4 parts on all sides. The abode of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are separately located in each of these 4 parts. By the way, this whole thing is depicted in the Goloka chart picture, which is there in our temple room. Goloka chart, nicely drawn, nicely displayed there, to get a certain idea of visualization of how this is. Anyway, I'm just continuing to read here. These 4 abodes, divided abodes, are enveloped by the fourfold human requirements such as piety, wealth, passion, and liberation, as also the 4, this is dharma, artha, kama, moksha, as also by the 4 Vedas, viz. Rig Veda, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, which deal with the mantra and which are the basis of advancement of the fourfold mundane requirements, which is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. 10 tridents are fixed in the 10 directions, including the zenith and nadir, that means top and bottom, zenith and nadir. The 8 directions are decorated with the 8 jewels of Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda, and Neela. There are 10 protectors, Dikpalas of the 10 directions in the form of mantra. See, this is what I'm saying. there are 10 protectors or dikpalas of the 10 directions in the form of mantra. The associates of the hues of blue, yellow, red, and white, and the extraordinary potencies bearing the names of Vimala, etc., shine on all sides. So, in this way, so the personalities exist in mantra form. So, just like Krishna, his associates, his expansions also exist in mantra form. So, that's why even the Gayatri is a mantra form in which one meditates on the pastime of the Lord and his involvement in the pastime. Even Hare Krishna mantra, it is the mantra form of the Lord. Mm. You see, these divine forms of Godhead are surrounded there with attendants of their respective natures. It takes time to explain all this, but anyway, you have seen that translation where it says, they exist in the form of mantra. So Gayatri Devi being a personality, very much possible, of course. Mm. And because Brahma is the initiator of the Gayatri mantra, so probably that's because Brahma's wife. Uh, so likewise. Okay, so the next question, Krishna, dear Hare Krishna. Uh, if Krishna's pastimes are eternal and manifest across infinite universes simultaneously, how does the dimension of time within the material realm interact with his transcendental time, allowing conditioned souls to perceive his activities as sequential events rather than the timeless reality as they are? Good question. Very good question. You know, how mysterious is Krishna? I was thinking about this in the context of space. You have asked this in the context of time. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained the Ishodhyan, the garden of the Lord, in Navadvip, as being this. Actually, Bhakti Vinod Thakur described that Ishodhyan as a very exquisite garden of the Lord. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if you go and see that place, you will just see like a normal place, nothing to do. It's like just like any other place in part of the material world. But actually, one whose spiritual vision is open, he will see a different reality. So that's the spiritual world. Similarly, there are things like that even in the material world, where from the Himalayas, for example, there is the Badri, Uttara Badri, where Vyasadeva resides even now, but that is inaccessible to to us. But perfected sages, they can enter into those regions which are completely inaccessible to ordinary people. And yet, um, so so from there are portals to higher planets like Gandharvaloka, where Bhima actually in Mahabharata, Bhima went there and brought the golden lotus flower from Gandharvaloka, and he went from the Himalayas. And such travels were possible because they definitely see something which we do not see. The pathways that they have access to, we do not have. So similarly, in this material world, the entire spiritual world, Krishna has brought it down, and his eternal time and his own eternal pastimes going on. And how are they represented or manifested in this world in a sequential form in our understanding? In time and in space, how come they are done in a particular location when actually he's actually living in this infinite location where there are infinite gopis, infinite gopas, infinite cows, but then it is all in that 84 square mile district of Mathura Mandal. So how is that happening? So this is the inconceivable potency of the Lord, firstly, and that's the answer. But also the sequential nature of time, which only moves in one direction and not backward. The force of time in this material world is a partial feature of the eternal time, which expands in multi directions. It can happen in any way in the spiritual world. Whereas here it has a one-pointed direction, and its force is unstoppable, and everything that is strong will be destroyed, and everything that is strong will become weak and will be annihilated in course of time, just by the power of this movement of time. It's so powerful in this world, whereas in the spiritual world, it does not exert that power at all. On the contrary, it serves the supreme desire of Krishna and is so malleable and moves in any direction, in whichever way Krishna wants. How does that manifest in a sequential form in this world? Well, that is how Krishna makes himself available to us. Because Krishna wants us to access him even though we are so far removed from the spiritual situation and rotting in this material world. Still, Krishna wants us to be able to access him if we really want to access him. For example, even the deity. Krishna is unlimited. I mean, the Virat Rupa, Arjuna could not fathom where was the beginning and the end of that form. But then Krishna comes to us in the deity form, in such small form, where we can actually serve him. How is the supreme absolute truth, who is the origin of everything, is situated in his own creation as one of the parts of his creation, in a stone form or in a paint form or whatever? How is he existing like that? Well, that is the inconceivable potency of it, and that form is as complete as the original form of the Lord. It's not that it is part of this material world and it's just a stone or something. It is actually the Supreme Lord, although manifesting in that limited form. So, although he is unlimited, in space, in time, he can appear in the limited way, in the way which we can see, perceive, and appreciate him. So that's the supreme merciful nature of the Lord. That he makes himself, who is so inaccessible actually, is adhokshaja. Our material intelligence and faculty is not enough to reach him. But he makes himself available. That's the supreme mercy of the Lord actually. Like how to reach him. But he makes himself so available that by chanting his name, which is seemingly like a material vibration of sounds, we are connecting with him directly. How is that even possible? Again, Krishna is making himself accessible. That is the mercy of Krishna. Krishna is letting down the rope of devotion for us to actually catch hold of and then come back to him. So he is making himself available in multifarious forms, in a sequential way, in a time period, and so that his activities can be recorded in a way which we can actually read about. If everything was like all over the place, and we can't even wrap our heads around anything. So he knows that we can't wrap our heads around all these things. So in what way can our heads be wrapped around? I mean, at least understand his pastime so that it's not too confusing for us at the same time. I mean, even now, even some of the things are very confusing. In fact, if you really go into everything, everything is confusing. We think we have a certain level of understanding of Krishna, but if you go deep into that, then you will find the um, confusing part of it, which is how is this even possible? And always the answer will come back to mercy of Krishna. Krishna's mercy underlies every aspect of what is going on. All the technological, or sorry, the scientific, the architectural, the artistic nature of Krishna, which permeates this world, that's not the real beauty of this world or anything of this world or the another world or whatever. The real beauty is actually Krishna's mercy, which is what attracted Sukadeva Goswami also finally to Bhagavatam, that Ahobakiyam Stanakalakutam, that merciful nature of the Lord. That attracted Sukadeva Goswami. Other things were not attracting him so much, but when he learned of the merciful nature of the Lord, Kam va dayalum sharanam vrajema. Kam va dayalum sharanam vrajema. How can I take shelter of a person more merciful than Krishna? Who can be more merciful? So that attracted him. It was that merciful nature of the Lord is so attractive that even a Brahmananda realized, Shukadeva Goswami, who already was on the spiritual platform, he became attracted to Krishna because of the unparalleled, uncontaminated, merciful nature of the Supreme Lord, completely rewarding his enemies. And if you see every aspect of Krishna and his creation, the underlying factor in that, sometimes it appears to us that this is all logic. Yeah, that's okay, that's logical, that sounds logical. But if you dig a little deeper, you will understand that it's Krishna's mercy. Why? For example, Krishna explained in the second chapter, Vasam Sajirnani Yatha Vihaya. We change our bodies every life like we change our dresses every day. Right? That's the verse. Oh yeah, that sounds logical now. Yeah, actually that makes sense now. Okay. So that means we are changing dress every day. So likewise, we change bodies every life. Okay, so we get an idea that this body is like a dress on the soul. We are the soul. We are the real person. We don't change when we change dresses. Oh yeah, okay. We try to. That sounds logical to us. Okay, yes. Now I understand a little bit about the soul not being this body. This body is just like a dress. Some idea we will get, right? So it appears logical to us. Oh yeah, that was a nice example. You dig a little deeper, you will find the mercy of Krishna. Why? Because the reality is, it is not that we are trying to understand something distant from an example that is more common to us. This idea, for now, the ignorant souls that we are, it appears that the changing of dress is a very common thing that we do every day. Whereas the idea of the soul is so complex and so far away from our understanding that we are trying to understand that complex thing through a simple example. Something that is more nearer to us, something that is more graspable to our brain, understandable to our brain. With that example, we are trying to understand that is something which is not understandable. Although it appears like that, you know how Krishna's mercy is. Krishna did not explain it in a clever way that we can understand. Krishna, he created all forms of life, and then he created the human form of life as well, and he gave them the brain power. He gave in the human body, he gave the brain power, or to the capacity to understand God, the capacity to understand things. And only humans, we have dress. The animals don't wear dress. If you tell this words to an animal, if the animal could ever understand our language, and if you give this example, it doesn't make sense to the animal, because what dress you're talking about? No animals or plants have dresses. Only humans. So that concept of dress, so the modesty and the decency of covering our bodies is only there in the human life, whereas in animal life there's no such thing. They don't know how to even have a dress or what. Covering is not something. is foreign to them. So Krishna created this sense of like decency, modesty, and the covering and the clothes, so that can be a reminder to um, you know remind us of our eternal position. So he put in things in this world that will constantly remind us of him. And in the shlokas, in the pages of the Vedas, he points to those examples which he already created for us to, not only for for example, the tortoise, how it can show the limbs or withdraw its limbs. Yes, that is a body which is a soul is in that body, and he is suffering his karma in the tortoise body. At the same time, he made that body in such a way that it can remind us of the Goswami, of how we should be able to control our senses. It's not that he's using a clever example and then giving us the idea. He created that example, he created that body, so that when humans see, they can relate everything. And also, of course, these are all reflections of the Lord's original body. Like he has Kurma avatar, and all forms that exist. He is the Supreme Lord, he says. He is Supreme Father. That means he exists in all these forms. Like Matsya avatar, everything. Like we know Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, three forms from the animal kingdom, but I think Prabhupada says many times in the purports, Krishna incarnates in every species of life. Actually. So we do not know how those incarnations exist and how they come, but if you see that example of the changing dresses, it's actually Krishna's mercy that he created in such a way that modesty, that only humans dress, and then dress also can be, you know, an indication of who one is, and also that is like a spiritual reminder. So you see how Krishna engineered that first before even telling about it. Because who created that idea of changing dress? That Krishna only created that idea, that whole system. And then he's just pointing to the system that he created in prior. So he created all these things to remind us. So it's actually the mercy of Krishna. And then he helps us connect. And it appears like, that's a very logical example. It's not a clever, some logical way to explain something. It's already there. Krishna already had this plan from right in the beginning. It was all along there. He's just pointing us to the obvious reality that is all around us, but we are foolish enough not to see. He's just reminding us, hey, here, here, here. That's why the 24 gurus in the 11th canto, actually all different parts of nature or some people or whatever, all this is actually training us to show us that Krishna can be Vasudeva Sarvamiti. He's everywhere, reminding us from every single part of his creation. He's screaming at us that you are my servant and you are supposed to dissociate yourself from this material world and come back to me. So he's screaming at us from every part of his creation. That's why what is that? स्थावर जंगम देखे ना देखे तार मूर्ति सर्वत्र होय निज इष्ट देव स्फूर्ति. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, a pure devotee sees everything, but actually he does not see their forms. He sees the Supreme Lord everywhere. This is how that works. So Krishna is giving some examples, but actually as the devotee progresses, he will see that everything reminds us of Krishna. Everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma. So ultimately it's Krishna's mercy that is the underlying factor, and based on which everything else was constructed in this material world or the spiritual. Everything is the base foundation is the mercy of Krishna. Nothing else but his mercy. Can we ask questions about anything? Not really. That is another session, which is Ask Me Anything session, which I've not conducted for more than a year maybe now. But this is about questions only on this topic. How is Brahma Gayatri different from Rudra Gayatri? I don't know what Rudra Gayatri is. If it is meditation on Rudra, then that is a lower Gayatri than Brahma Gayatri. But I don't know. I don't know Rudra Gayatri. I'm not very familiar with that. Brahma Gayatri is Brahma, spiritual Gayatri. Of course, it's coming from Lord Brahma, but Gayatri Mantra is also explained in CC purports, right? Wouldn't that be easier? Well, you can do, I mean, Madhya 8 or 138. You know what? It's already so late. You can go and read maybe. Maybe as a homework. I will also maybe read. काम गायत्री मंत्र रूप होय कृष्णेर स्वरूप. So you see, सार्ध 26 अक्षर तार होय, 6 अक्षर चंद्र होय, कृष्ण करे. What is this? Madhya Leela, chapter 21, text 125. Yeah, that's nice. So these are nice actually. Klim Kamadevaya. So this is also Gayatri. Very nice. This is a nice what is the explanation actually? So yes, this is a nice explanation. You all can go and read on the Gayatri. And this is again the Kama Gayatri. But also in the Brahma Samhita, it is very, very more technical and a different way it is mentioned. But yeah, one can read this, one can read in the Brahma Samhita. Nice reference there. Okay, for Tamil people, Margari month, I think Margasirsha month, is very devotional. They pray to Andal and recite Tiruppave. Yeah. Ravi Sangvi is asking, why does ISKCON distort Bhagavad Gita in its translation? Well, it does not. If you find Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita distorted, then you are distorted. Good question. Why does ISKCON present Hinduism as a monotheistic religion where only Bhagavan Krishna is the only God? Is ISKCON trying to prepare Hindus to accept Christianism where only God is Jesus? This is the problem with the exact problem with Hindus. They have zero brains to understand. They have never read one book. I'm sure this fellow has never read one book. And if he has read anything, you're confused. Please read Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Mattah parataram na anyat. I am the Supreme Lord, no one is equal to me or superior to me, and worship only me. And he condemned the Devata worshippers. This is the most confidential part of Vedic knowledge actually. There is Devata worship, yes, but they are not God. Krishna is only the Supreme God, and they are all servants of Krishna. And we have recently, we're actually publishing book, Why Worship Only Krishna. We are actually presenting from Vedic evidence why only Krishna should be worshipped. And it's not any Abrahamic religion. That is the actual truth. God is only one, and that is Krishna. That's it. If you don't understand that, then you read Bhagavad Gita. You have not read Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has said clearly there, Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. And he said, Name viduswaragana prabhavam na maharshaya. Aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvasha. So he is the origin of all devatas, rishis, and everything. Everybody comes from him. He is the supreme, one and only. Absolutely. Please read our books. You don't come and argue like a nonsense fellow. Surrender is Christianism term. There's no concept of surrender in Sanatana Dharma. Translation you're explaining is brainwashing. Absolutely. I mean, please shut up. Because Sharanam Braja, surrender. Absolute surrender. You know what the problem is? You know what your problem is, Ravi, Sangri? Your problem is you don't wish to surrender. You don't like the idea of surrender. You don't like the idea of absolute surrender to Krishna. You want your independence, and that's your disease. Our original position is to surrender, as if, I mean, you have already surrendered. You know, for example, I mean, when you were in the womb of the mother, you had zero agency, you had zero independence. Now you are given a little bit of independence to play with, and you're already saying, no, I don't want to surrender. Well, death will make you surrender. At the time of death, you will have to obey, right? Right? You cannot say no. That is surrender. You are surrendering to death. And Krishna says, Mrityu sarva haraschaham. And next birth, again, you have to surrender. You have to, whatever situation you're put in, you have to go through that. So, instead of surrendering to this kind of punishment, if we surrender to Krishna, that will save us from surrendering to Maya and going through this punishment. And actually, Krishna will take full charge of us and protect us. If we try to think that we can protect ourselves and save ourselves, you cannot. You have to surrender to his authority and to his protection. You don't even understand anything. Please read Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Don't come and talk nonsense here. Yeah, this is a good point. Ravi, you are talking about Lord being Christian term while you use the term Hindu that is given by Muslims. Absolutely, very nicely said. Hindu, the word Hindu doesn't exist in our scripture. You have never read our scripture. That's the problem. You've never read, and then you say, oh, I'm Hindu, Hindu. Where is the word Hindu in our scripture? Show me in the Vedas one word Hindu. Show me. It is not there. It is a Muslim name. Muslims have given that name. Foolish fellows, foolish Hindus. This is the problem with Hindus. They want to unite. Oh, only Krishna, only, all Hindus must be united. Where? Ravan. Ravan was worshipper of Shiva, and Ram is, of course, Vishnu. In that estimation, Ravan is a Hindu, right? Why there was war? Mahabharat, Kauravas and Pandavas. Kauravas were also Hindus. They were not something else. They were not Christians or Muslims or what. No, they were Hindus. In that definition, if you that your term is Hindus comes under that definition only. Why there is war? So it is dharma and adharma. Not about Hindu. We are not Hindus. The word Hindu doesn't exist in Shastra. If you are considered Hindu, if you are considering yourself as Hindu, you are not following Vedas. You have gone out already. Because Hindu doesn't exist in the Vedas. Islam word exists in the Quran. Christian comes from the word Christ, which is there in the Bible. Where is your Hindu word in our Vedic scriptures? That means this is a foreign name. You have already gone out of the Vedic fold. Okay, don't talk. Even Radharani is also God. Why only Krishna is supreme, only one? Well, Radharani and Krishna are Radha Krishna nahe anya. They are not different. They are one. This is a transcendental reality. Krishna and his expansions and his pleasure potency, they all exist as multiple. What is that? Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. He is Advaitam, at the same time Anantarupam. He has multifarious forms, and Radha is his female counterpart, female form of God. So there's no contradiction at all. When we say only Krishna and all his expansions are included in that. Right? Alright, we'll stop here. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Sai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.